Hey, what's going on, you guys? Mr. Money1235 back here yet again for a new album review. I feel like I've been talking way too much about the whole Dame Nah Bar and Blur Gorillaz hype thing, and I've been wanting to make this review for like a month now, but I keep putting it off and putting it off, putting it off. Purity Ring, Another Eternity. Now, I'm a huge Purity Ring fan. Shrines was one of my favorite albums back in 2012. I don't remember if it made my list or not, but I love that album. So obviously I was excited about the release of Another Eternity. When I first heard the single though, I was a little taken back by this thing. The song Push Pull was the first thing that I heard from this album, and I thought it sounded really poppy. It sounded a whole lot more brighter than some of the darker tracks that you would find on Shrines. I got a little bit worried because I thought Purity Ring was kind of turning into like this thing where they're going to just kind of appeal to the modern pop crowd. Maybe they thought, you know, it could get more mainstream influence if it got rid of all the scary, drenched in reverb sound like the first album. But after listening to this entire album over and over again, I gotta say, this album is a whole lot more cohesive. It feels a whole lot more like an album, a complete whole, than Shrines did. Shrines felt like I was listening to like a collection of singles along with two tracks, Cartographist and Shuck. Those two songs on Shrines ruined the album. They ruined the fucking album. I really like the consistent sound and style that they had going on Shrines. I like how dark and kind of moonlit it was, I guess is how I describe it. But this album over here, Another Eternity, this album feels so much more cohesive and easy to listen to the whole way through. This album is not hard at all to just, sit back and enjoy, where I feel like on Shrines, you listen to bits and pieces of Shrines and you would just, it was almost like too much to take in for a full listen through. Now, some hipsters may appreciate that more, that Shrines is more of a difficult listen, where this album is a little bit easier to enjoy the whole thing. In my mind, that isn't a bad thing at all, because I like my albums to be a fun listen the entire way through. So good points on that. And I also have to say, the songwriting and the melodies and the overall feel of this record just feels so much more easier to digest. It feels a whole lot more fun. It feels a whole lot more fluid. It feels a whole lot more sparkly and upbeat. And it's just, I love this fucking album. I fucking love this album. It makes me so happy. The song Body Ache, the newest single that they released, they just put out a creepy music video for that thing. A lyric video, I guess. That song is so fucking epic. Till my body aches. The vocals are so perfect. This chick's voice is so perfect for this style of music. Definitely a huge impact for me on my love for this band. There's some really cool synthesizers part going on in this record. Some really spine-tingling moments that happen in this record. When the opener on this album starts, Heart Sigh, it just drags you in. You listen to Heart Sigh, and you just get immediately invested in this record. That's taken up even higher with the next song, Body Ache, and it just keeps going and going and going like that. Every single track that comes on, it's just like a, I gotta have more type of feeling, and you just, by the time you know it, the album's over, and you just, let's play that shit again. So yeah, talking about these tracks individually, the instrumentation is pretty much the same, but every single one of these tracks has a unique melody going into it, some really beautiful vocals once again. In my mind, it's better than Shrines. They improved off of Shrines. Shrines, granted though, Shrines is a little bit darker. So if you enjoy the more kind of cave-like, reverby, really dark, kind of down-tuned, like songs like Lofty Cry, Oba Dear, those songs aren't really on this album. It's way more upbeat. Not to say there isn't some reverb, some darkness on this album, but it's definitely nowhere near on the same level as Shrines. It kind of gives it kind of a diversity, having the two albums sound pretty different from each other, honestly. So I kind of like that for a band that kind of, uses the same instrumentation pretty much throughout all of their music. So I think that was a good call on them, and they made a pretty solid album here. And I'll definitely be listening to anything they come out with next. Definitely check out this album, you guys. Comes out tomorrow. Definitely going to pick up a copy as soon as I have the time to. So I will see you guys later. Mr. Money